Challenges of Parenthood, a story of a mother whose child is transgender. Dear unknown friends and comrades in arms, at the beginning, I want to introduce myself to you. I am a single mother of a beautiful, good, gentle, and smart girl who is now 20 years old. Even while I was carrying her in my stomach, my wish was to give birth to a girl. But she was born as a boy. And then I said to myself, no matter what gender, I love my child the most in the world. I will protect her from all the evils in this world. I will give her all the love I have in me. I will help her grow into a good, hardworking, and happy human being. And so, it was until she was 13 years old. We were extremely close. She was an excellent student at school, curious, and always ready to learn something new. She had friends, she was communicative and sociable. She participated in extracurricular activities. She trained karate, went to music school where she learned to play the guitar, but most of all, she was looking forward to the art school she attended from the age of 7. I supported all her wishes, especially if she flourished and progressed in that. Of course, like all kids, she loved watching cartoons. Not just anyone, but the ones on Cartoon Network. That is why today she speaks English perfectly, better than her mother tongue. She also had her favorite heroes to dress up in, and I sold her costumes. Her father was what would be called weekend dad, and in order to make up for his absence, I did my best so that she could grow up happy. She was allowed to use the internet from an early age, and through some games she met children similar to herself. She had no secrets, she shared everything with me. But that summer, between the 6th and 7th grade, changes began to take place. She stayed awake until late. She spent a lot of time on the internet. She changed her nights into her days. She answered my questions superficially and started hiding the monitor when I entered her room. I felt that a big change was happening, and I connected it with the beginning of puberty. I remember when I confided in one of my friends, who is a psychologist, that she told me, "What you poured. Now is the time to flourish." But I had no idea that there were such flowers as is my child. Fear overcame me. I was afraid that someone would manipulate my child over the internet, and I went alone, without her permission, to read her correspondence with her friends. And then I found out that my child wants to be a girl. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I reacted violently, and today I regret it. Questions began to arise in my head, to which I had no answers. Some of them are the following, and I believe that some of you, like myself, ask yourself, are there transgender children? And if there are, why is it not written anywhere? Is my child really transgender or mentally ill? And who should I turn to for help? This all happened in 2014, and then I did not have such available information and professional help as there is today. My life is turned upside down. Through my friend, I came to a psychologist who had experience in working with LGBT children at the time, and my child started psychotherapy. However, the situation was getting worse. I noticed she was hurting herself. She shut herself in. She avoided school, and everything around us fell apart. And the psychologist's advice was that the situation was very serious, and that her recommendation was hospitalization at the child psychiatry for a detailed analysis. My biggest fear was her suicidal thoughts. In the end, I came to a conclusion where I had to take extreme measures, and she was hospitalized at the psychiatry hospital for children. And now I wonder if I made the right decision then. Visits were allowed, but my child did not want to see me. I felt like the worst person in the world. I didn't know what to do. At that time, there was no support group for LGBTI plus parents, and there was no one in my city who had experience working with 13-year-old transgender children and their parents. The hospitalization lasted over a month. The first success in the family therapy agreements was when they allowed me to address her in the desired gender and the name she gave herself. On the recommendation of a psychiatrist from the Children's Hospital, My child was given an appointment with a psychiatrist who specializes in working with transgender adults in Belgrade. We have been waiting for that term for a long time. The psychiatrist said that it was too early to claim that it was a matter of transgenderism, that she had to continue her education as a boy. But from today's perspective, that not allowing me to address the child in the desired gender and the name she chooses is totally wrong. If the experts had given a recommendation to respect the gender and the name that my child chose for herself, I would not have experienced rejection and condemnation from my child. Since she did not go to school, I had to make excuses to the homeroom teacher and explain how my child may be transgender, but that the experts told me it is too early now to confirm that. You can imagine the reactions of the teachers. The school psychologist barely knew what transgenderism was, let alone what to do if they had such a child at school. Nobody explained to me what transgenderism is, but I went to the internet looking for the answers. And that's where I knew I was getting lost. And my daughter was building a wall around herself, which unknowingly I started doing too. I stopped talking about my child, and if someone asked me, I made up various stories. I told my closest friends, and their reactions ranged from full support to the fear of asking me anything because I was strong on the outside, so I guess I was taken for granted. And they were used to me being able to do anything. I lived in constant anxiety for the future of my child. My life turned into a nightmare, and I did not see any solution. And I couldn't do all of that alone. I was looking for experts and people who know the problems of transgender people. I was looking for parents who have children like me, who will share their experience with me, who will advise me, comfort me, instill hope, and whose children are the age of my child. In 2016, I finally found people who are actively fighting for the rights of transgender people. I named them my Free Good Fairies. They're from Belgrade, and all three are women. Meeting them, a burden fell from my back. They organized our meeting in Belgrade. It was my first meeting with a real activist/lesbian, a transgender woman who was in the final stages of transition, and a psychologist with many years of work with LGBTI people. Their advice was as valuable to me as dry gold at the time. They instilled in me faith, strength, and hope to continue to support my child, to give her time, to be patient, that nothing is abnormal, that there are always such children, but that they have never been talked about, and that few experts specialize in children like this. My daughter was now in high school at that time, but the situation was no better there either. The school did not allow her wish to be addressed in the desired gender and to be called by a name that has not been officially changed. She had to enroll in another school, part-time. The school system does not recognize the problem of addressing transgender students, which means that the name and gender with which they are enrolled cannot be changed without an official legal change of documents, which is possible only after the transition and when the person is an adult. All this must be confirmed by the doctor who is leading the child through the transition, and at that time, the limit for entering the process of gender reassignment was 18, and my daughter was 16 at the time. In spring of 2017, on the recommendation of a psychologist who first worked with my daughter, I got in touch with a young psychologist from the group Come Out and joined the support group for LGBTI plus parents. However, that group was short-lived, and they were the parents of adult children from different cities in Serbia. In 2018, I was finally lucky. The Come Out Community Center for LGBTI plus people has opened in my city. That space became my second home. For the first few months, I went there to hang out with young people in order to get to know my child through their life stories and regain lost trust and closeness. Conversations with these young people helped me more than the expert advice of psychiatrists and psychologists. They taught me to raise my head and be proud of my child and her struggle that has lasted for a long time. And then a beautiful miracle happened. The group Come Out has formed a support group for the parents of LGBTI plus people, in which I have been since the beginning. My parents' group straightened me, so I was one of the participants in the first Pride and Pride Week in Novi Sad in 2019. It is now 2022, and I'm honored to participate with my parent group in such a large Erasmus Plus project, Let's Change the Pace. It has been a long journey, but I'm happy that I did not give up when I encountered obstacles. That I was constantly looking for a way that would help me make this world better, more beautiful, and fairer for my child and children like her.